COVID-19 family, whether you know it or not, is really our penal system. The fastest growing rate is in Rikers Island in New York and in the jail in Chicago. And so what we're endeavoring to do is to collect somewhere around 5,000 to 10,000 surgical masks to give to the inmates here in Atlanta. Because you shouldn't be given a death sentence just because of a moving violation. And somehow or another, those who are in governmental structures have dismissed those who they had flushed in the prison pipeline. And so we're really moving with stealth speed to try to get that done before Father's Day comes.
I see. Okay. Cassie, did you have a question that you would like to ask Dr. Bryant?
No, absolutely. I just wanted to say, I am so proud of the work that you're doing. You are absolutely right. Our community definitely is in need right now, and your church is doing a great job of supporting that need. What faith message do you want to share, to those watching, to our community, to kind of stay uplifted during this time?
I would say that this is the greatest avenue to test your faith. Isn't it amazing? The White House has no answers. The governor has no answers. Dr. Fauci has no answers. The CDC doesn't have any answers. And so this is the time really you got to press in and pray and meditate and center in. That you have no idea who is a carrier. You don't even have any symptoms to know whether or not you have it, but that you've got to completely trust God. And many of us only trust God when it's convenient and when it's comfortable. But now we're in a crisis, and it's not an Atlanta crisis. This is a global crisis. I talked to some of my comrades in the Bahamas, and they said, Pastor, you really got to pray for us because the Bahamas is getting ready to be a third world nation when 70% of our entire economy is on tourism. And the hotels are closed, the cruise ships are canceled, the flights are no longer coming in, and so everybody is being impacted. And so I want every person who is a part of this to really reprioritize what is important, express to the people who you love what it is that they mean, and to make sure that you are a practitioner of self-care and to know that you have no authority over what's happening, but that you've got to trust God
in it. Exactly. Mr. Steve?
Absolutely.
And at this moment, you have continued, and I noticed that you're the next generation of true leaders, spiritual leaders. What would you say and where can people go to meditate? Because I think at this moment, people need to have never studied the Bible. Where can they find verses, and what type of scripture would you give to them now that they can actually use? I mean, it's that.
Yeah, I would do two things. One, I tell everybody this. When I was still in college, an old preacher said to me, here are the two passages of scripture you need to read every day. And for the last 25 years, I've been following that model. He said, Proverbs is the book of wisdom. Is the book of wisdom written by the wisest man who ever lived, Solomon. He said, read a chapter of Solomon every morning, of Proverbs every morning. He said, you'll never lose your place because Proverbs has 31 chapters. So whatever today's date is, that is the proverb you read. So today you should read Proverbs 20. That is to get wisdom on how to navigate your day. He said, at the end of the day, read a chapter from Psalms. And you read Psalms because Psalms is a book of praise and thanksgiving. So you read Proverbs to get wisdom on how to handle your day. And before you go to bed, read a chapter from Psalms to celebrate you survived the day. Now, David was a musician. So in between the Psalms, he has a word that says Selah, S-E-L-A-H. Selah means pause, think, reflect. And so at the end of your day, on the middle of your afternoon or early in the morning, have a Selah moment to think about what it is that you want to accomplish, what it is that you have overcome, and what it is that you're getting ready to pursue. And a whole lot of us make a rush, but we don't have a pause. Isn't it amazing? The debate is about when churches are going back, but you're hearing no debate about when the mosque is going back, when the synagogue is going back, when the temple is going back, because the church is the only faith entity that has failed to teach its parishioners how to meditate, how to center, and how to do introspection. And so I think that's the time for us to do it is now.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think I find it that when a lot of people attain high profile positions, they do a lot of good in the community. And there are times when people try to scandalize their name and besmirch their character. And you spoke about this openly on YouTube.
Yes.
I wanted you to give you an opportunity on this platform to go ahead and address that, because it is raging out there, and you say it's unsubstantiated.
Yes.
But go ahead and speak on that, sir.
Yeah, so a blogger 2 weeks ago made a blog that went viral, that I had a baby in my church that I was hiding, that was born on April 9th or April 12th. From one of my members. It was 1,000% unfounded, but it went like wildfire. It was absolutely everywhere. And it had legs because, quite frankly, I've been divorced for 11 years. 11 years ago, I went through divorce because of infidelity on my part. So whenever it is that I go into public space or specter, there's somebody in internet land who will conjure something back up and relate it to it. And what I said on YouTube is I now understand what it means to be a returning citizen, is that even if you've done something in your past, there are some people who won't let you outlive it. And so it's very critical that you stay focused and be mindful that your future is always going to be better than your past.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well said. I wanted to ask you in regards to the continuation of the programs that you have going on. I want you to give opportunity to shout out to the partners that helped you on the free testing for the coronavirus. And do you think that you yourself or other entities or churches in the community, in the city, are going to do that in the future? Or have you, what's the progress or the prognosis?
So let me thank you for doing that. I'm so excited about our partnership for us to be able to do that testing for uninsured or underinsured and Medicaid patients. We did it through two companies, Malja Labs and Rodox. And here's what's amazing, family. Both of these companies are owned by Black women. And I think that is worthy of celebrating and underscoring, especially when our Black businesses are suffering in the middle of this pandemic. 76% of Black businesses did not receive any stimulus support. And so I want to thank God for these super bad sisters who stepped up to the plate. We went to all of the hospitals in the area, and none of them could partner with us because they were overstretched and had minimal resources. But these two 5-star companies stepped up to the plate and helped us to get it done at no charge.
Wow, you should have brought them on with you. Well, I would love to talk to them. I mean, that's incredible.
Awesome. Listen, I'm free the next 46 days, so we can bring them back anytime you want.
Okay, that's what's up. Okay, that's a date.
So we're gonna do another testing within the next 3 weeks. We're still waiting to confirm it because in order for us to do it, we have to have an army of doctors and nurses who volunteer their time. So the last time we had some 50, 60 doctors and nurses on the front line. But tentatively, we're looking at doing it either the weekend of June the 6th or Father's Day weekend. So either of those, I'll send y'all a smoke signal so you all can alert the community that is getting ready to happen. But we plan on doing it again.
Before we go, the role of the church is continuing to evolve. Obviously, testing is an example. In order to address our disparities, I'm asking, we put on Health IQ, which hopefully, Chair, we can get Dr. Brian on. But we've got to come up with some KPIs, some health KPIs for all members of the church. We've got to begin to have some key performance indicators, even inside the church, whether a church really is prepared. So when you think about that, I'd like for us at our next discussion, really think about some key performance indicators as it relates to addressing health disparities at the church. Obviously, testing, but taking blood pressure, being glucose check, understanding that every member, if you're a member of your phenomenal church, that they would be able to understand how many steps of movement how to be able to monitor their health on their phone. So how do you see the church evolving into a epicenter of health and wellness, Dr.
Yeah,
Brian?
I think that in the backdrop of COVID-19, our churches are going to have to reimagine their space. And so it's really going to have to be a hub for the community for empowerment. And so many of these churches who quite frankly are closed because we're doing service online and virtually ought to be transforming their churches to be clinics. And when I say clinics, not just of health, but also of education. These young people don't have access to Wi-Fi, computers, tablets. It also has to deal with the food pantry. It also needs to be a center for coding. And so I think our churches are going to have a real, no sarcasm, come to Jesus meeting about how it is that we best utilize this space that is right in the center of our communities. It can't just be about worship. It has to be about service.
Thank you. Well, we look forward to you developing some KPIs because we really want to begin to measure our community. I think the time is out for leaders not to have measurable moments for our community. I say that to you. I say it to the pastor, Charles Dinkins, that said to tell you hello when I talked to him.
Oh, that's my guy.
He said that, but I think it's the new young thinkers, people who are creating innovation, which is how I would describe it. And I would say this for all those who are out there. If you got time to talk about Dr. Bryant's personal life, you don't have time to look at your own personal life. I mean,
Right.
the trolls that are definitely destroying somebody else is not what our community needs. We got too much fake news. And I respect you and I understand that obviously that you coming here, you're working in these fields, but it is not easy. And nobody's ever going to thank you enough. But we thank you for what you are doing. God bless you, God keep you. And for all those trolls, you know, they can catch it. Because we have put it in the wind, but we're not going to put it in pen. We're going to continue for you, Dr. Bryant, here rolling out, and we're with you because we don't have that time. Our community is in dire straits. And we need people to make a difference with their posts, not post poison. And that's all they do, poison. So we need to remove the poison posters. We need to encourage our people to uplift with their posts. And I think everybody is rolling out. If you listen to this on Facebook, post positive, not post poison. Because we've got poison in our community and it's besieging us as truth, and it's not. So just want to thank you for coming out.
Thank you. It's a privilege, and let me thank you. What it is that you all do is so important. A lot of our voices of advocacy have been muted, and so I'm appreciative for what it is that you do. BET doesn't offer news anymore. TV One doesn't offer it anymore. And so what it is that you all do is so critical and so vital. Every movement always had an engine. Frederick Douglass had the Star, the NAACP had Crisis Magazine, and our generation has Rolling Out. So thank you so very much.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you, Pastor.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, before you go, just real quickly, if you could just talk about, give us something about Father's Day, what it means to you, and if you have anything special planned for Father's Day.
Let me say to you that I am not blessed, I'm spoiled by God to have a father who is alive and healthy at 75 years of age. I don't take it lightly and don't take it for granted. I'm blessed of God to have known both of my grandfathers, maternal and paternal. And I'm grateful that outside of being an advocate, an author, and a pastor, the greatest job I have is in being a father, and I'm grateful. And those of you, your biological father is gone to be with the Lord or is distant, you got to draft your own role models and see who it is that you want to emulate because there are a whole lot of brothers who are doing positive and purposeful and productive things.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Bryant. We look forward to seeing you in the community doing more things that you have already done, as you have done with incarcerated in DeKalb County, as you have done with the free testing, as you have done with the food giveaways. So we bless you, and we look forward to seeing you do great things in the community. So thank you for visiting with us.
Thank you for having me. Have a great day. Be safe, everybody.
All right. Take care.
Take care.
Hey, rolling out AM, the wake up call. Romeo, Romeo, Romeo.
Had to pull a Cassidy on you, Munson.
That what it was? Boom, you're back.
Oh man,
Working
welcome back.
Just working the box. I got you. God bless everybody who's there out on Facebook. What we got on Facebook? Shout out to Shirley.
Oh man, we on Facebook. Charles Jackson checking in. Shirley Brock says, God bless. Teresa Woods says, I love it. Michelle Lawrence, I love it. Kyla Gills, hallelujah. I'm spoiled by God. Kia LaPosh. We also got Keith Shannon checking in, and Donna Jones. And Wendy Humes. Wendy Humes also checked in. So, yes, Facebook is on fire right now.
Let's say to everybody.
Good morning. Good morning.
Rolling out. Wake up call. Terry Shropshire, great guest. That healing, I'm counting on you to have these women that are running these testing centers as part of Health IQ, which happens every Tuesday at 6.
Yeah, that blows my mind. That absolutely blew my mind. I mean, I had no idea. I knew that he was with a partnership. I heard him talking about it a couple of months ago. About a month ago. And so when it was actually executed, I thought it was somebody from another country or another state. I had no idea that they were right here and they were sisters. Then they stepped up to the plate and they provided the infrastructure to get that done. Shouts out. We got to get them. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Sure.
Good job, Terry. Very good job.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm about to pull a Cassidy on y'all. You know what I'm saying? I need to step away for just a minute, but I see that we got another great guest on deck. I mean, he's always in the community. So yeah, watch out for that.
Cool beans, man.
Cool beans.
Rolling out Don't forget, rollingout.com. Don't forget, send your photos, your comments to promotions at Feed Media and tag us in your photos. I appreciate everybody that's been tagging their Instagram. I have been reposting your Instagrams. Thank you so much for engaging with us in the morning time at 8 o'clock. So good job, everybody, man.
Right. And we are start next week. We love to know that we have a whole new Rolling Out AM extension on IG next week starting. So Romeo, I look forward to moving that forward so we can catch everybody and give them a little taste of what we're doing here on Rolling Out AM, the wake up call in the morning. So what was it like watching that video? Because when the young man was there, it just seemed like he was surprised. Then all of a sudden he was in his moment and your heart broke when he said, this is the only day I have. I work 6 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
It sounded like frontline conversation to me. So many people who are on the front line work doing something, a bus driver, and then their second job is doing something to support their family. They're on the front line, and yet no peace. And then no justice, no peace. No justice, no peace.
Right.
I can tell you guys another thing, Kat. Another thing that caught me off guard was from the video, he looks like he's parked in the middle of a field. And for the officer to say, this is a drug area. Now, me and Munson's from Chicago, and I know the streets from Atlanta. I've seen drug areas. Drug areas don't look like parks with open fields and trees. And nobody's around him. So and your hands are out. Like, what else can you do?
I mean, he's just chilling. I mean, he's simply just chilling on his day off. He probably just wanted to go to the park. Said he was rapping, which is a hobby of his. He's just like, I'm out here rapping. I'm chilling. He was probably just trying to get some peace, some fresh air, a nice scene out there.
No,
so it's unfortunate.
What was crazy was when all of a sudden the guy started making an excuse on why he was getting ready to tase him. Why he reached for something.
Right.
Are we have revisionist creativity? Everybody watch the video.
I was trying to understand if he was actually like, did they tase him, or was the taser not working, or was it working?
You know, God,
okay.
In that moment, the taser didn't work.
No,
About a miracle.
Right.
That was a miracle at that moment. That was a miracle. Because their intentions were clearly to harm.
correct.
To harm him, yeah, for sure.
Really, if they could have tased him, it would have happened. We would have seen the tasing at that moment. Unfortunately.
And then the typical, I thought he had a weapon. And I'm like, how? You just frisked the man. You asked for the wallet. You saw him put the wallet back and you thought he had a weapon. I'm lost. I don't know what else to do, Munson. I don't know what else to do, Cassidy. My hands are up. I don't have warrants. Yeah. You have my license. I'm sitting here in the park. I ain't bothering nobody. Right. As you can see, there's nobody around me. Even when the police came, the normalcy of, people going to look and stare, there's nobody around to look and stare. What are we doing here? What else can I do? I don't know what else to do.
Well, I think a couple things that even there, though, him getting upset, you can't lose your composure.
Agreed.
You can't approach the officer. You got to remember, you do not want to go to the second place.
Right.
You do not want to lose your composure.
Right.
You do not think that there are friends, but we have to remain calm because they will use that video to say that he was not a calm person. And the language that he was using as he addressed them, for all the young brothers watching, for all the mothers who haven't shared that video with your son, there are things to do and there are things not to do. There are a couple of things there that we want you not to do. Never lose your composure. Speak. Don't move around. Don't lose your composure. You do not want to go to the second place.
Yeah, absolutely.
Be invited to anybody's back of a police car. You do not want to be invited to anybody's police station. And at this moment, we know Sandra Bland got out of the car.
Sure did.
Second place was not a good result. Clearly, the young brother in Baltimore who got in the back of the van.
Yep.
That was not good. Never go to the second place.
And like you said, we understand here at Rolling Out, we understand it's difficult. We understand the pressure that, young Black men, young Black women endure. But like you said, that composure got to kick in where you're like, okay, I know if I say this is going to be the reaction. If I do this is going to be the reaction. And I know it's difficult. I promise you, I know it's difficult.
No, it's a difficult conversation with yourself at that moment, but you've got to understand that the family, your loved ones, want you to compose yourself at that moment. Obviously, if you can, dial us up. Obviously, if you can, go live at that moment so that you're not alone. It's important that you document, that you prepare yourself to understand that this is a very dangerous period. The person has no idea who you are. They may have never met you before. So their whole assumption will be that you might be the last person they arrested. So in their mind, their safety is the most important. But in your mind, your safety must be the most important. Not to their question.
Right. Let me ask you this question. Because once again, Janice Simmons just checked in and she said, I have said this so many times to the young ones, Munson. So in your ideal, or Cassidy, in your ideal, when does this conversation start? When does this is how you deal with the police or higher authority conversation start? When does that begin? Is this middle school? Is this before that? Is it high school?
I think it should start like as a teenager, or even younger. I mean, but I think it's very critical that it happens before you get your license, before you get your driver's permit, and before you get out on the road and you're by yourself. Because that's when we know you're getting pulled over by the police. But I think it's important to talk to your kids about what's going on before that, so they have an understanding and you kind of make them aware. At certain age points, I think teenage years, 13 is a good time, maybe earlier is a good time, but definitely before they get in the car and are out on the road by themselves.
Terry?
Yeah, I think people need to start to operate in realism and stop operating the way they want things to be. There are two things here. There are things that we're fighting for, the way of life that we wanted, and then there's reality. And so we need to operate in reality and talk to our children, our young people, about interactions with the police, and then continue to work towards the life that we want in terms of equity and justice, or equality and justice in this country. But the reality is that we're inordinately being arrested, inordinately being abused, and inordinately being shot and killed unarmed. So that is the reality, and we need to operate within that reality with the eye towards the prize, just like they did back in the 60s, where there was inequality, and they knew that, and there was brutality and deaths, and they were fighting for equality, and they accomplished some of that. So that's the way we need to operate today. So
Terry, that goes back. Well, Terry, that goes back to what I asked. Since you just brought up the 60s, when did that conversation start? Because in the 60s, children knew at that point in time, like I watched movies where children knew, hey, stay away from sheriff so-and-so, officer so-and-so. So I'm asking you, when does that conversation start in your mind?
To me, the conversation begins in single digits. It begins when they're very young. When you start talking about other things that they need to do in life in terms of getting good grades and behaving in church, I got that a lot. And so that the conversation begins there, and that, and that you teach them the rights, and that you get, you teach them what they are allowed to do, but you also teach them how to interact with authorities. And like you said yesterday, I think it needs to be reiterated and repeated. Repeat it repeatedly. Is that a phrase?
Right.
Get home alive, and then worry about the reaction later. You know what I'm saying? And then fight towards becoming lawyers, becoming councilmen, becoming politicians, becoming and voting. And those are the things that we need to be doing.
Welcome. We've got our morning guest, true leader, fighter. Glad you're there. We're gonna get you to turn your camera on, landscape on. But Derek, we were just reviewing the Guardian video of how not this year, but 3 years ago, they were harassing this young man.
Yeah. First of all, good morning. Y'all know I don't get up early, so Rolling Out got to be very special magazine. I'm literally trying to clear the cobwebs out of my eyes. But let me say this. I think, Munson, it's a classic case. You really don't know what it means to be a black man if you're not a young black man. What you see is a young brother in that video who is tired, right? And I have to remind people, Brunswick is not Atlanta. It's a small town. So these guys knew who Ahmaud Arbery was. It was not like they didn't know him or knew him. And so I think what you see, a guy who say, look, I'm sitting in the park, right? I'm minding my own business. I'm off of work today. Ahmaud worked for his father. One of the jobs he had, his father has a car wash and he has a landscaping business. And so dude's like, hey, I'm off. Why are y'all messing with me? And clearly he had no contraband on him. He did what you should be doing. Never give the police the right to search your car. If you want to search my car, go get a search warrant, because you're not going to find anything in my car. And after all was said and done, he was not arrested. So we know why the video is put out there. It is put out there in an attempt to make him some mean-spirited, anti-police kind of individual. So we have to understand what we're seeing. But what I'm waiting for is for the videos of the Mac Michaels. Where are their videos that show how they react? Where are they videos that show what they've been doing? So we have to be very, very careful when we see this, because the only game that they got is to try to criminalize this young man in the eyes of the public, because what they did was cold-blooded murder. That encounter had nothing to do with what happened on February 23rd of 2020. And so for us who are, as we say, we who believe in freedom cannot rest. And we also have to understand what we're looking at and what's in front of us. But that was a Black man who was tired of being harassed constantly by the police. You know, he's like, hey, what else, y'all? Y'all ain't got time to fight some real crime. Why are y'all messing with me today? And I think that's what we see. It would have been the same thing that I would be doing if they showed up over here at my house every other day. I'm not going to be nice. I'm not going to mince words with him. So we have to keep focus on, in spite of his past, because we do know that Mac Michaels have a past and it will come forward. And I think that's the key thing for us, to keep our eyes on the prize.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that playbook that they seem to have. And it seems to happen every time. An unarmed Black man dies with an encounter with the police. And almost immediately, character assassination begins and the besmirchment of their character begins. And so I wanted to talk about the playbook, about what goes on and how we can combat that.
Well, I think you combat it by simply making sure that people understand, let's stay focused on what happened on the 23rd. And see, here's the thing, the problem with the 23rd that the killers have a problem with. They called 911, right? And so their movement that during that very moment is being tracked by what they said, right? And we know that that's some complicity with the local news. Remember, small town Georgia, they told the mother and father that your son was killed in an armed robbery. He was trying to rob a house and the homeowner shot him. Without the video, guess what? The parents believe that foolishness. Now, because it was their word against a man who was the district attorney's chief investigator for many, many years. And that white boy was able to say very clearly now, this is what happened because of white privilege. They did not question it. We don't know the complicity between what conversation he had directly with the district attorney. And so the community believed it, the Black community and the white. And then information started coming forward. Well, it may not have gone down like that. So when you see what you saw that caused all of us to grimace and even have nightmares about it, it's undisputed. Now, how do we get over that? We got to say he was a bad actor. He smoked weed. He did this. He did that. So that in our mind, we think that that becomes a factual predicate for killing the bad Black man, right? You got to kill the black man. How do we go from a brother just selling loose cigarettes being choked to death right in front of our eyes to, okay, well, we're not going to find anybody responsible. We saw them choke Eric Garner to death. But then they started talking about, oh, he'd been there doing this and that. And even in Black folks' mind, our psyche under this white supremacist system has put us in a position that we think that that's valid and that has something to do with that particular day. And so that's our real struggle. We just have been in this system for so long that we just want to believe that this system is not that corrupt. And maybe, hell, maybe we did do something wrong. Maybe he did do something wrong. Even in front of our eyes, we see who jumps in their car, calls their son, grabs a shotgun in a .357 Magnum because somebody went into an empty house. What could they have gotten out of there? He didn't run out there with no plywood, 2x4s. He didn't have no saw in his hand. What would possess them to think that that was an appropriate response for what they even witnessed or thought they saw? Makes no sense.
Well, I think the other thing in terms of the teaching that there is a lack of, small town Georgia versus Atlanta, lack of leadership. Clearly, in Atlanta, we would say, oh, yeah, you could just shoot a brother and that's okay. And everybody say, oh, that's it. But you're also talking about a small town that has no representation, little representation. So we got to support them in getting a new government for themselves down there and getting involved. How do we do that, Derek?
Well, here's the beautiful thing about Brunswick, because the one thing you have to understand, Mons, is the culture of a place, right? The culture down there for historically have been whites and blacks are working together basically because every one of them had a separate kind of agenda, right? And I put up last week a 1964 documentary that I found. Skip Mason, I think, first put it up, that talks about race relations down there. So there have always been this history of, okay, y'all stay in y'all place, we'll stay in our place. In the areas where we can work together, we'll work together. The interesting thing about Brunswick is that it had black and white people in the street. The white people are just as pissed off as the black folks are. And it's unusual because we don't see that often, to have white allies. At our rally on Saturday, we had white allies there. And they're saying we are just as angry about this. The sheriff down there stood in the street in the middle of black people who were mad as hell 2 or 3 days after this had happened, after the arrest, and said, this guy murdered this young black boy. And so here's what we do: continue to support them. The unfortunate thing is we came right up on the election for this DA, and she had no opposition. They are collecting names to try to put somebody on the ballot. We are forcing the issue because we believe that Brian Kemp, who appointed her to DA in that circuit, need to remove her. We're planning y'all are hearing the first here, a massive rally here in Atlanta, and not this Saturday, next Saturday, to continue to put pressure on the governor to act to remove her. We believe her acts of corruption, in this case, in the case of the Smalls case down there, where a police officer killed his wife, his wife's boyfriend, then turned around, killed himself, and she kept another police officer from testifying against him, who said this guy is psychotic. She wouldn't let the guy go to the bond hearing. He gets a bond and goes and massacre his ex-wife and her boyfriend. So I think we continue to prop them up, do just like we've done, ask them, what do you need from us? Support their rallies and their call for justice. The one thing you can't do in organizing is to say to a people, because Brunswick is a 4.5-hour drive, we coming down there to do it for you. The best leadership model is when you empower the people on the ground to get done what they need to get done. So if they need flyers, we'll design them and ship them down there. If they need t-shirts, we'll send you some t-shirts. Y'all need some banners, but what you got to do is keep fighting every day for this young man, because as I said Saturday, Ahmaud can no longer speak for himself, and we've got to speak for this brother through our actions.
Mr. Bowles.
Yes.
Romeo International. My question to you is, because I'm a very social guy, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, everything is trending. What is your message to the young millennials? Because they're tired. They're tired to the point where I don't know what else to do. Like, my hands are up. I'm minding my business. I'm not bothering nobody. Like, they're at a exploding point at this point in time because of the continuousness of what you said, young black men doing nothing but still being bothered. What do you say to them?
I tell them what Coretta Scott King said to young people. She said, our freedom is bought by every succeeding generation. And so you're the millennial, the Gen X's. You all got to get in the movement, and you are. And so what does that mean? Back in mine and Munson days, we had to pass out flyers door to door. And on a good day, I might be able to get 10,000 flyers out. You can hit one button and send out 10,000 messages in a matter of seconds. So you got to get engaged. And what I'm saying to everybody, bring all of your gifts and your talents to this movement. Our focus is right now pushing out this district attorney. See, people then realize we thought Mike Brown just died in the streets of Ferguson, and that was the end of the story. But those young people kept marching for 380 days. All right. Every night they came out in the streets. And guess what? They got a new mayor. They pushed that police chief out. They got members on the city council. Now, we don't go back and talk about the victories that we won. And so the thing that we need for you to do is stay alive. And the way you stay alive is not channeling that energy, because these white folk will tell, look, they'll drop a bomb on the house and won't think twice about it. And so what we need you to do is be smart and be effective and use every one of your gifts and talents. It's time for these artists. And I don't give anybody an agenda, because you can't give me one. But you got to use your voice for other than smoking weed and getting high and talking about rims. Okay, that's why I love Killer Mike, because that brother don't wait for me to call. Hell, he calls me. I love T.I. They don't wait to get involved. But now we got to say to them, hell, y'all need to be using that energy that you have and that voice to reach these young people, to give them a message that we got to bring this whole system down, and we can do that in Brunswick. Could you imagine the impact of having those brothers and sisters on the ground? What Jay-Z did, stepped up and said, hey, using his financial resources and his influence to say, we got to bring this system down, the cash bail system. See, we celebrate the entertainment part of what they do, but the stuff that Jay-Z and them are doing, and some of those artists are doing, Meek Mill and others in that generation, Jay-Z not so much of that generation, but it has influence over it. You've got to use your gifts and talents to bring them to the fight. That's what Harry Belafonte did in the 60s. That's what Mahalia Jackson did in the 60s. That's what Dick Gregory did. That brother walked off from the most lucrative career in comedy. He was bigger than Dave Chappelle. He was bigger than Eddie Murphy. He was bigger than all of those individuals, right? At that time. But the movement came, and this dude said, look here, I can't just leave my people out here. I'm following Dr. King where he goes. I'm going, giving up the money, the fame, and everything else. And he got in the movement. And he told white folks, I'm not coming to play your venues if brothers and sisters cannot get in here. I don't want your money. I don't want a check from you. I'm not coming on your TV show. They want to invite him to a TV show, told him he couldn't sit on the couch where the other white folks sat. And they wanted him so bad that they went back and changed their mind. And when they changed their mind, he said, forget it, I'm not coming. So you got to be a warrior out here, not just a keyboard warrior. We need you on the internet and informing people. You got to inform people and get them good information. I love to partner with you all so y'all can make sure we send the right information out and that you get it out in your community. And then when we say show up, show up. People say, well, marching is old, marching is... Well, no, we have a strategy bigger than just marching. We have lawyers like Attorney Molly Mel Davis, Francis Johnson, Tiffany Williams. We have lawyers who go in the courthouse every day, but law has its limitation. I don't have no limitation when I'm out here in these streets.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and posting with purpose is real important. We've got to begin
Mm-hmm.
where, as a community, we post with purpose. We've got to kind of discount and reduce that posting without a purpose, because our community is being besieged every day, Romeo. So I think it's an adjustment. This social fantasy that they got us preoccupying each other's minds with this nonsense is a problem. And literally, we want a purpose to happen in the next generation so that you have those skills and that you can convey what it is. Because that young man was there by himself, but clearly if he had had another young brother from Atlanta, sharing information with him, inspiring him, telling him he could come to the studio up here, get involved in his community. I mean, a lot of hope can be exchanged between two different cities.
And he had that monster that, one of his boys, one of the toughest interviews I've ever watched, and go back and find it. He had a friend who's up in Morehouse, and he did an interview with CNN, and he's talking through his tears. He said that brother would call me, and he would just about every week to encourage me. He would tell me to stay in school and keep fighting through what school is all about. He said, man, you can do this. We're depending on you. That's the kind of brother he was. Now, so, he was a stellar athlete. When you see him, his body is ripped. This kid was a hell of a football player at Brunswick High School and had dreams of going to the NFL. He was a linebacker and just too small. His first cousin is in the NFL. And so his dreams, when he didn't see his dreams fulfilled, he didn't become a dream killer. He had some of his friends up here in school, and that boy would call up here every week and tell them, look, man, keep running and keep chasing after your dream. That's who this young man is. And so we got to make sure we tell that story, not the one that they're trying to say, a kid who done stole a 65-inch TV, and after you see no TV around, right? No TV nowhere. Or the kid sitting in the park who just trying to get his mind together because he's a rapper, rapping, and you're going to just harass him. We've got to remind him we don't know what we lost in the street, but we know we lost something great because the young man made it to 25 and was still encouraging others to chase their dreams.
Yeah, we've got to get those numbers for you, Derek. We also need those numbers while you're here on that nursing home, those families at the nursing home, because I don't want us to even think that this pandemic has been erased. You still see our entire community running to the store, running out to sit and have meals. What's going on, Derek?
Well, I have a lot of friends who are doctors, and I call them. In fact, my one texts me every day. In fact, he texted me just before I came on here to say the trend is not breaking. But one of the hopeful things is we just know by nature we are communal people, right? And so, but it means you got to be very cautious. And so even at the rally, we told people, look, put on a mask. I bought hundreds and hundreds of masks, pass them, put on gloves. What we do understand about this virus, it is transmitted through the droplets. So the droplets, where do droplets come from? They come from your nose and from your mouth. And so if you're wearing a mask, your ability to transmit this virus is very low. And I'll be honest with you, Monson, I didn't want to put on no mask. I thought it made me look funny. I thought it made me look like a suspect. And so about a week ago, after talking to my doctor, I said, the hell with this. I keep 50 masks and 50 pair of gloves in the car, right? So anytime I go out, once I jump out the car, put the mask on, I put the gloves on, because the way this virus goes is if you touch your eyes, your mouth or nose, and you have the virus on your hand, that's why they want you to keep washing your hand. But people are still dying. Let's be very clear about that. And the best information suggests it has been the social distancing, our lack of contact with each other, constant contact, that has brought us there. There's still not a vaccine. There's still not a treatment for this. There's no vaccine and there's no treatment, period. We're at the same place we were before this first started. And so the state of as you look around the country, the state of this virus it is devastating still in our senior citizen facilities and our assisted living facilities, places like Sadie Mae's and other places where our old folks are. And you ask yourself, why? What is so unique about those places? Well, it's not the patients who are getting up. I mean, common sense tell you, many of those patients are bedridden. They're not getting up, going visiting with other people. It's the staff and the lack of training. And so you don't have a one time not to wash your hands. You don't have a one time to go from an infected person treating them to the room of an uninfected person before that person catches the virus. They already have compromised respiratory systems. A lot of them suffer from COPD, like my mom, who's be 79 next week. And so it ravages them. And it's the staff who are going to give the medicine, right? Going to every room. It's the staff who are going to feed them, going to every room. It's their practice of having them come down to a cafeteria where 60, 70 people are at one time. And what we'll learn is that many of these unregulated facilities are not, you're trying to teach a $13 hour cook on how to put on a PPE. a mask. And the protocol in the hospital is if you're going to a patient with COVID-19, you need a mask, you need gloves, you need a shield, you need a coat, disposable, and they just don't have it. And that's still not happening in many of these facilities. That's why you see the level of deaths. We're up to, I believe, 18, 19 now over at Arbor Terrace. And it's a tragedy because some of these people, the tragedy of it all that just breaks my heart and just breaks me, you get to be 88, 89, 92. You do not die from old age. You do not die from heart attack. You die because you got a virus that if somebody would have washed their hands, put on gloves, put on a mask, put on a shield, it wouldn't have even impacted you. It's sad. So, to our people, Mike Morrell, this stuff don't mean anything till you lose somebody, right? Close to you. Mike Morrell, who ran the restaurant, Morrell's Cafe at ITC in that Morris Brown, I knew that brother. That brother would cook dinner and I would go over to ITC to eat with him. It's heartbreaking. He lost his life to COVID-19. Good brother that would do anything for this community. He died because of COVID-19.
I'm going to call you to make sure we get that young man from Morehouse's number. We need to do that. We appreciate you coming on. Derek, we'll reach back out for you. Stay in the struggle. We know you,
brother.
We appreciate you. We love you.
We love y'all back and appreciate y'all. The most important thing that you all can do is what you're doing is getting out this kind of information to people, man. So call me anytime. And for rolling out, I would even get up at 9:30 in the morning, 2 hours earlier than what I'd usually get up.
All right. Thank you, Derek.
All right. Take care.
Rolling Out AM, Derek Bozeman, community activist. We love him. Hey, Cass. So posting with a purpose is incredible. We got our positive thought of the day. What you got for me, Cass?
My positive thought of the day is I'm going to take from Pastor Jamal Bryant to pause. Just take that moment during your day to pause and reset, refocus, think about what you've accomplished, think about what you need to accomplish moving forward. So that's what I'm going to try to do today and moving forward.
All right. Romeo.
My positive thought of the day, I'm going to take from Munson Steve. Don't go to the second place. Think. Don't go to the second place.
Well, my thought of the day is, hey, we appreciate you. We love you all here at Rolling Out. And I want to make sure that we are all together this day, taking a moment to post positive. Post something positive about your day. Post something positive about how we can inspire others to understand that there is something positive about your life, no matter what you're in, what station, what moment, what time. So for all of us here on Rolling Out AM, the wake up call, Cassidy in the city, Romeo International, much love, much peace, and much purpose for us here on Rolling Out AM, the wake